All right, how's it going, everybody? Going live again. I hope you guys can see this really well. Let me try to, there we go. Today I'm going to be talking about brushwork and medium, paint medium, and a couple of little things. And I just wanted to make sure that the camera got a hold of that really well. The whole space there. So, well, here we go. So I am using here a canvas, a panel. Okay, this is a canvas panel. It's not too thick. It's thin. It's about an eighth of an inch. They're really good to for plein air painters or to do small paintings, studies. Some people call them studies. I don't like the word study because it kind of diminishes it, you know. But doesn't matter what you call it. Okay, so this is what I do. I keep a glove, right, latex, on my left hand because it's the one I keep paper with. And one way to make sure you don't run out of this type of paper is to use toilet paper. Okay, I used to use rags. A lot of artists still use rags. I don't, just because it means that I have it around and it gets very dirty, you know. So here we go. This is a type of brushes that I like to use. Let me show you. Very simple brushes. Okay, nothing too fancy. Maybe my fanciest ones are like this. But when I'm going to do a painting, I tend to use about 3 brushes, sometimes 4, right? Sometimes I go through this. But I usually start with a flat brush, like this, to kind of get the lines and everything. Let's say that I'm going to, let's see, can you see the paint? Yeah. I'm going to get some blue right here, some phthalo blue, okay? Now you have to have command over it. It can't be like this, you know. You have to have command. You kind of have to, you know, you have to own it. This is one way of doing it. Let's say I'm going to do some, I don't know, let's say I'm going to do a landscape, right? There's a reason why I put the line here and not in the middle, right? The line is either here or here, usually. The reason why that is because there's this thing called, and I know I'm covering a few different things here, but you know, some people may need this type of instruction. This is called the rule of thirds, right? I'm going to draw it right here. This is in photography, in anything visual. This applies. And your horizon line, if you're doing a landscape, should be either up here or down here. Why? That's pleasing to the eye. It can even be down here or down here. It should almost never be in the middle unless you really know what you're doing. So that's why I do the horizon line up here or down here, right? And here is another thing. To cover large areas, well, unless you're doing something else, you know, some type of impressionist work or something else, I don't know, more realistic or whatever, it doesn't really matter. But I tend to go for a bright or flat brush like this. Hi, Walt. So let's say I'm going to do the sky here, okay? I don't know if you can really tell the paint I'm using right here. I'm going to show you really quick how I use it. I get the paint, right? Get a little bit of blue, a little bit of Viridian, and then you have to get it in there. It can't be you know, you have to really push it in there. And you'll learn how to gauge, the more you do it, how much you need to push in there. Because oil paint is something that you drag around. It's not something that, it's sort of like welding. I know it's a weird thing, but a weird comparison. But when you see someone weld, they push the welding. You know, it's being pushed The paint is the same way. You have to push it. You know, it's something like this. Okay? Now, when I clean it, after I do something like that, I clean it right away very quick. You know? You don't have to make it so clean. And I'm going to do some very detailed videos about this. Okay? I'm going to make some very detailed videos that have to do with this. Make sure you keep a garbage can or a disposal for this paper, and figure out how to dispose it in your city. There's different ways in your, depending on where you live. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to get some red, some yellow. This is something very simple, okay? Very simple. It's almost a minimalist landscape. A little bit of white. The reason why I put a little bit of white, it's because in the distance, many times, it depends on the clouds, but for the most part, the distance, if you're talking about a landscape, in the distance it gets lighter. Okay? So you have to do a tint. This is called a tint, right? When you mix white with another color. So in the distance, it gets a little lighter. The more the objects start coming forward, the darker they get. One way that I like to do it, because I like the colorist way of painting, is that rather than doing them dark, I do them more saturated. Okay, this is how some colorist painters like to do it. It doesn't necessarily go by the book. You don't make it darker, but you may make it more saturated. Now here I made it more darker, but here I just use red, so it appears to be darker. If you put it in a grayscale, it is not darker. And that's why so many people get thrown off by the idea of painting in the manner that I do, because many times it doesn't follow the school. The school suggests, it gets lighter and then it gets darker, and the classical method, right? But the colorist way, it doesn't always gets done that way. I'm going to do some purple, okay, and some red, and I rub it. There's many ways of doing this. This is just one way. This is one of the simplest ways. You hold the brush like this. Okay, you don't hold it like this. You don't hold it like this, right? There's those ways, but what I'm showing you right now, it's you hold it like this. This is how many plein air painters hold it. Because it gives you that command. It's very, you don't think about so much where you're going to put it. That's not so important right now, because you're blocking. This is called blocking. You're blocking color. You're not so interested right now in the detail. The detail will come out as you progress in the painting. All right. Then I can change the brush and I can say, let me Bob Ross it here. I'm going to get some Viridian, some red to make my green darker. Okay. Now every object that's standing, every erected object gets darker. The higher up, the darker it gets. Okay. This is not always the case, but for the most part it is. So I'm going to do some trees back here. Okay. Let's say I do some trees. Very simple stuff. Now the farther away the trees are, I'm going to lighten it. I don't know if you can see it right here. I'm going to lighten that. With a little bit of white and a little bit of yellow. Just keeping it very simple. Okay? If the tree was to be closer, I'm going to get a little bit of black. You don't have to get black, you can use red and blue if you want to do something more impressionist. Okay? So let's say that another tree gets farther in. Well, that tree has to get darker because it's closer. Okay? Now if you were doing this in a colorist way, you would get something like purple, right? Blue and purple, just pure out of the tube. You don't have to, just blue and purple. And this will suggest to the eye that it's darker, right? Because it's not mixed, it's not tint with anything. So you're using colors just as they come out. This is a very impressionistic way of doing it. Okay. So I hope you're enjoying this. It's very simple stuff. It's nothing complicated. I just wanted to show you because some people have asked me, and I just want to show you. Look, it's not that difficult. You can do it. You can do this. If you haven't done this, you can do this. It's not that difficult. The difficult thing is doing it for the rest of your life. If you're okay with the learning curve and because you always want to learn more. Here's another thing in the horizon line, right? Right here, you can use a little bit of white and yellow in the horizon line. You can get a little bit white and yellow. And then what medium? Notice I'm not using much medium. I'm just kind of putting the paint there. But here is my medium, right here. This is my medium. It's walnut oil, okay? So I kind of just dip the brush like this and go for it. Look. Now, I have eyeballed the viscosity of my paint because I've done it for many years. But that's something you can learn how to do. You don't have to get it right the first time. You can just get it going. Look, little light sweeping through there. There's little patches of light, as Monet called them. You see? If you don't like this right here, very simple. You clean your brush again. Okay. The reason it looks so fast when I do it is because I do it fast. But I'm slowing down right here. You clean your brush and then you kind of do this, look. Without interrupting so much the bottom part. You see? And it's okay if you touch the trees. Don't worry about touching things. It's supposed to be. So many people get worried about it. They want to go around them. Maybe if you're doing photorealism. But if you're painting with oil, and you want to do this loose brushwork style, this is a little bit of blue with viridian. It gives sort of a fresh feel to it. If I just do the phthalo blue or any other blue, it might just come out too simple, right? Too not simple, but kind of out of the can kind of thing. So I like to mix them a little bit. And I'm not suggesting you do that in the beginning because you might not feel, but it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to use some white, just white, okay? Dip the brush in the oil, just a little bit of white, and look, just like that, look. Just kind of make it out. There's some clouds there, something's happening. Okay, very simple stuff. So the medium I like to use, I like to keep it in something like this. Okay, this is walnut oil. Every time I need some, I just squirt a little bit in there. Walnut oil is a bit expensive. I'm going to do one for artists, right? I'm going to do one with cooking, after grocery, walnut oil. And I'm going to check it, and I'm going to see how it dries and everything, and I'll let you guys know. Some people have asked me about that. The walnut oil for arts, it's also edible. But from what I've heard, I never tried eating it. That's from what I heard. Don't try eating it. Okay, you didn't get that from me. But the person that was selling it in the art store was like, oh yeah, when they did the demo, they put it on their salads. It's like, the reason I like it is because I don't like to use toxic mediums. I just don't. And for paint, I mean, there's so many different types of paint. I like to use different brands. Let me show you some of them. This Gamblin is a very good brand. Some people say it's student or whatever, but it doesn't matter that much in the beginning. In the beginning, what you want to do is you want to get started. And I use some of this Winton. I started experimenting with Payne's Gray. And not as using it as a gray, but mixing it with the colors. This is a very nice impressionist approach. When you start mixing grays, you start creating grays. Grays is a really interesting way of approaching paint. It's not so much colorist. It goes a little bit more in the traditional way. but you apply it, anyway, I don't want to confuse you. Apply it with Impressionism and it looks really nice. So, let's say I'm going to do some stems, okay? And look, from the bottom up. I don't start it like this. The reason why I don't is because if you do a stem like this, usually it loses strength at the bottom. It starts out wide and then it loses strength. And the tree doesn't look that way, right? So this is what I do. From the bottom, and then thinner on top. From the bottom, I start hard, and then thinner. And then you can start doing all sorts of little things, like twisting your arm, your hand, your wrist as you're doing it. Look. You see, you start playing with it. Because the trees are not stiff, right? See? Something like that. So it's very simple. Here's another little thing you can do also. Try to, if you have something like reds right here, try to get some orange or some pinks. Just play with it. You know, just play with it. It doesn't have to look like anything. In the beginning, what you want to do, this is a beginning little tutorial. What you want to do is just get the feel. You want to get the feel. See, very simple. Very, very simple stuff. You just want to get the feel. You don't want to worry too much about oh man, this is what I don't want you to do in the beginning. I don't want you to do this, right? And you can do that absolutely once you get a hang of it. But when you're starting out, don't do stuff like this because you'll lose the painting. This is another way that I like to see when I look at landscapes. Look at any place that you look, you know, just look outside, look out through a window or whatever, or in a room if you are right now. There's no single thing that makes any sense. And I know this is a bit abstract, unless you focus on it. And once you focus on it, then everything else becomes kind of blurry, right? Because it's a peripheral, right? So when you paint, this is something that I do. I make everything that way. It's a very impressionistic approach. Everything is sort of like in a dream fantasy kind of. You know, there's not much unless you want to do that, right? But there's not much attention to anything or focus, not attention, but focus. There's not much focus. I'm not going to paint everything like this and then really work really hard on the trees right here, on the tree trunks, right? And then you know, go back and then just rework this really hard and then let everything loose. Unless that's your style, then cool, right? But that's not what I do. What I do is that everything is the same way. Everything's kind of loose. Everything, because it allows you to see the painting as a whole. You know, it allows you to see the painting as a whole. This is some Viridian. And I'll do some videos also of the color wheel. That way you can understand, if you don't know this, complementary colors and what works well with other colors. For example, orange and purple or blue, you know, red and green. And, you know, you kind of start getting the hang of that. And then you can start, you know, as you progress, you can start messing with different colors and creating your own funsicles. And there's some yellow right there. Why? I don't know. It just made sense. You start doing this. You start dancing with it. You start dancing with it. It's not bells and whistles. It's not. It's not like you're purposely trying to be clever. If you're doing that, you're not painting anymore. That's one of the things that I noticed. Some artists, they're like, oh, what if I put this little line right here? You know, no. It really, you're laying color as you're feeling it. You're laying color as you're feeling it. And you create that group. So I just want to leave you with that. Very simple stuff. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Take care. And I will be doing another video very soon with other awesome stuff like that. Okay? Take care. Bye-bye.